Train.
What?
I've had corned beef, cabbage, and now I've popped open a Guinness. Guess what day it is?
It is the day everyone gets green. Otherwise, you're going to get your ass pinched.
I like it.
It's all good. It's all good. What did I had to? What I wore green. I'm trying to think if there's anything else Irish I did today. I dug in the ground.
That's something very Irish to do.
I don't think that's any. I think all walks of life and heritages have dug in the ground at some point. But
I think that is also true.
No potatoes were involved, however.
No potatoes were hurt in the making of this episode. Let's get started.
Hi, Future Steve here. Just want to let you know that we have a YouTube channel now. Pretty excited about that. I will give you the full details after this episode. And now through the magic of podcasting, I will take you back.
Welcome to episode 317.
B Squad is, at its core, a roundtable discussion of the four of us who are admittedly rank amateurs in the car world, trying to figure our way into hot rodding.
4 states,
3 time zones,
2 sets of brothers.
once a week of the meat and bolts of hot rods.
For a B Squad Hot Rod, this is Lefty.
This is Train.
This is Hollywood.
And this is Woodchuck, because A Squad has a TV show.
Legal disclaimer. If you try anything we talk about, that's your fault, not ours.
I have a bit of green for you.
Money? I'd love some money because I'm at the point like I got my tax refund.
Okay.
But none of it's going to my project.
Fail?
Well, the wife has some priorities. So, fortunately...
Are they car priorities?
No, they're backyard priorities.
Oh. Well, tell her to get back to work so you can fund your project.
She did, actually, and it's a good thing. And I will leave it at that. But
all right, I wasn't taking it that far. Sorry, Anna.
It didn't help that I told her the next purchase is probably going to be over $1,000, but that's the new front suspension. Because I finally just talked me into it. I'm going to go with the Mustang 2 front end. So
I don't think you'll be upset about it.
I just got to buy the damn thing now.
That's the trouble. Being upset about a purchase and the price is usually inversely proportionate.
Inversely proportionate. That's probably true. So anyway, you have some green for me. It's not the green I want, but it's some green for me.
Yes. So I got my green car out.
Green car.
Actually, I have 2 green cars now.
I keep forgetting how many vehicles you have.
Yes. My wife says I have too many. And she tells me that because I want to buy more, and she says no.
That's generally what a good wife does.
But it was a really pretty Corvette. The body was all perfect. It just needed an engine and transmission. And I have those.
You're talking about the one in Oklahoma.
Yes. Yeah. So Muddy had found a Corvette that was a project in the middle of being redone. No engine, no transmission, but all the fiberglass had been redone and it looked really good from the pictures.
Uh-huh.
Of course, these are pictures on Facebook, so, take it with a grain of salt, but
who knows?
And I have 2 big blocks and a transmission sitting in the garage.
2 big block Fords.
Yeah, well, I'm putting a Chevy engine in the Thunderbird, so I'm not.
I would fly, drive, walk, and run to your place just to slap you. Okay. If you put a big block Ford in a Corvette.
Oh, okay. We can do this.
Okay.
I'm going to have to get a hold of Muddy, see if that thing's still for sale.
Uh-huh. Like, granted, you have a 305 in transmission sitting there that would drop right in. And granted, yeah, 305 would be less sacrilegious than a big block Ford. However,
yeah, it's Chevy, but that's a really small motor to put in
the car's really light, but yeah, it's not what you expect out of a Corvette. Anyway,
okay, so not the green car, but the green truck, the Humvee.
Green truck, the Humvee.
My 6-year-old drove the Humvee all by herself. Dad was not in the car.
Wow, brave. Granted, you have big
So-
open pastures, so it's not like she can hit anything.
Yes, it was a straight away, and we had checked skills before we let this happen, right?
And you put what in first gear, and it never.
Well, Humvees are automatic, so it's.
You can
But-
still put it in first gear.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That would have been an A squad move.
Okay, yeah, news check. Just because it's an automatic transmission doesn't mean you can't select a gear.
Yeah, no, you are completely right. It does allow for that. Yeah, but no, she knows how to operate a vehicle well enough to drive 100 yards over broken terrain.
It's good.
And her sister got a chance to do that too. Her sister's 9 years old. And like I said, we checked skills before this happened. It wasn't, hey, go jump in that and see how it goes. But much like growing up, and I believe we all learned how to drive at your dad's house on a tractor.
Oh, I've driven. I was not much older than your daughter's age when my brother and I started driving vehicles, more than just tractors.
Fair enough.
We had that Ford 8 for, I don't know, shit, I was probably in kindergarten when we got it. He no longer has it, but we drove that. And then there was was it the Honda Accord? No, there was another little gray car. We drove around the field all the time.
Gotcha.
It wasn't the 8400 Accord.
Okay, so
But it was
Hollywood and I
another.
learned how to drive.
Yeah. Then there's the Jeep and the all that shit, right?
Oh, there, yeah.
You guys learned to drive the Jeep.
That was the car I learned how to drive a stick on ish, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
The one I put on its side that I picked back up, basically.
I don't remember that, but I do remember you almost putting it into a tree.
I don't think you were there when I put it on its side. It's a Jeep.
I was not there. I would have
you just
remembered that.
roll their asses back order and you check the oil. It's a fucking Jeep.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I'm with you. So yes, there were no incidents with the girls, and they passed their first driving test. So
it's good.
now we got to teach them how to change a tire and change the oil.
Yeah, Declan. I let Declan drive to the donut store here. Yeah, the donut store is you drive through my neighborhood, and you don't even have to get on a major road. You just turn right into the parking lot. It's like half a mile drive. So, but he sat on my lap and he steered, and I made sure he didn't hit any cars.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we've been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
I think that's always the first step, right? They stand on your lap and they jump up and down and maybe touch the steering wheel as the car rolls forward. And then they get to where they can steer the steering wheel a little bit, and you still got to kind of help them around turns. And, eventually you can get them to where they're driving by themselves. Again, this was a closed course. This was not on a public road.
Whatever.
The public is certainly not ready for that. They're not old enough to drive put together yet. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun today.
Good.
Let's see what else have we done in cars. I got the small block on the out of the cradle and on the engine stand, so it's ready to kind of go over a little bit
by yourself.
Oh yeah, I bolted down the intake, put the plate on it, lifted it up with the cherry picker, and took the cradle off and put it on the engine stand. So
it's not
a big
bad.
deal.
See, well, my hardest part, blah 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 blah. I can't talk today. I haven't even been drinking. Hardest part about putting an engine on an engine stand is making sure, like, the bolts that go through the spider. I don't know what you call it, the spider or the rotisserie plate or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that plate that's got the arms on it that lets it turn around. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that go in through the block, those 3/8" bolts. For some reason, always too fucking long. Right?
I was having the opposite issue. I had some that were too short.
You could buy it's like a thing from Summit or Jegs or wherever you get your parts from, or you can just know it's this small block Chevy. They're all 3/8 inch coarse thread bolts, except for a couple of specific instances. But I mean, just for the most part, they're 3/8 inch coarse thread. They come like 3 or 4 inches long. I mean, or 4. They're longer than that. The ones I have I probably have some 6-inch long bolts for that thing. I'm like, but I got to put like 5 huge nuts on the backside of it just to eat up space. And then I got these things sticking out and hit my hands all the time. Like, whatever. And I think it's just because I have the cheap Harbor Freight engine stand. Because some of those other ones, like the Jags or some of the higher end built, like Eastwood, the arms, the little standoffs for the arms I've noticed are much longer than some of the more budget friendly engine stands.
Yeah, so I think I got the same one you do, and I measured it before I bought the bolts, and I think the arms are 3 inches in length where the bolts go through. So yeah, 6-inch bolts would be quite a bit. I think I bought 4-inch bolts. I bought 3.5-inch bolts and 4-inch bolts, and
4-inch bolts should be perfect.
Yeah, one of them worked. Not sure which one.
No, not sure which one. I don't know. I got the little Summit. Like, I was ordering parts from Summit, and I had, I don't know, $10 to eat up for free shipping or something. I'm like, throw those that kit. It's a little kit they get. It's a bunch of bolts for engine stands.
Oh yeah,
I think it comes with standard and metric, right?
Nice.
So you could do an LS engine or a small block engine or whatever, But those bolts are freaking long.
Yeah.
Next time I'll just go to we have a couple of like Fastenals in town or the Tractor Supply, because Tractor Supply is probably I've been really good supply of bolts. I go to Home Depot and I go to Lowe's and they're like picked clean. They don't have the ones I want.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's just
because 3/8-inch bolts are not that hard.
They're not hard. They're not hard.
Or let me rephrase. They shouldn't be hard to come by.
They're absolutely not hard to come by. I just, I go to, it's a little bit further drive to Tractor Supply, or even that nut and screw place or Fastenal place that we have here in town, and it's so much easier. One, because I don't have to deal with freaking 8,000 people at the big box store.
Yep.
And two, if I go to the Fastenal and I go, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm doing, and those guys are like basically experts in all things that tighten or bind stuff together, right?
Yeah.
And they'll have it anywhere from, they had Parkerized bolts there the other day. I'm like, that's cool. They'll have it in stainless. Yeah. They'll have it in grade 8. They'll have it in blah, blah, blah. And Lefty probably scream at me, and I'm going to start screaming like counterfeit bolts. But you know what? I don't ever worry about that from like Fastenal or CC nut screw, even though you probably could anywhere else.
Honestly, for
holding it on an engine stand, I don't really
yeah, tension strength on a bolt, on a 3/8-inch bolt, 1,000 pounds is not a whole lot. Yeah. Right. And most engines are not 1,000 pounds. I've got those big blocks, and I think they're like 750, and they take 7/16.
That small block fully dressed, I think, is 610.
Yeah.
Fully dressed.
Yep.
If it has nothing on it and empty, I think the block itself's like 400.
Yeah, mine is almost fully dressed.
It might not even be that much. I'd have to Google it. Might be less than that.
Yeah, that engine stand in those bolts are having no issues whatsoever. So, and like I said, I've got the cheap Harbor Freight. I think it's advertised as 1,000 pound.
The bare block is not even 200 pounds. I'm freaking lying. But a fully dressed one I've seen on there, they usually weigh. The list I saw, a fully dressed block was like 600 pounds.
Yeah, looks like on Hot Rod Forum, 305 is around 450.
Yeah. Anyway, because I remember I was just thinking about it. I'm like, I used to lift that damn empty block up, that bare block up all the time by myself, but it can't be that heavy. Crankshafts are heavy, just start adding stuff to it, and it gets up there pretty fast. And oil. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking for grade 8 bolts, but turns out Napa doesn't have any bolts to attach an engine to an engine stand. which kind of blew my mind.
Why? How does Napa not carry bolts?
Oh, they've got bolts. They just don't have the right kind of bolts.
They don't have 3/8 inch
No,
bolts.
no.
What? It's Napa.
Yeah, I know.
Usually,
ours is
like,
not well stocked.
oh, okay. Like usually, like if O'Reilly's or AutoZone here in town doesn't have it, Napa will.
Mhm.
I mean, I think we even have an AutoQuest still here.
Yeah, I went into our Napa store the other day looking for quarter 20 bolt, 3/4 of an inch long. Pretty,
Yeah.
I mean, just saying that, you know exactly what I'm looking for, right?
Yeah.
Told the gal working there. She's like, "Wait, you want a 3-inch bolt?" I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
no, quarter 20. It's a 1/4 inch bolt. Needs to be 3/4 of an inch long." Oh, like this one. That one's 1.5 inches. I need 3/4. Exactly, 3/4. It was for an electrical panel. It had to meet that exact clearance.
Oh,
Um,
let's say like,
and yeah,
just, why don't
I
you just
explained it
cut
to
a
her.
bolt down?
I
Or a
was hoping not to
hacksaw,
have to do that, but I think I found some at in a different town. But
different town.
well, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of stuff where I live.
I know. I keep forgetting. Like I've been there, and I keep forgetting how fucking tiny that place is.
Yeah, it's teeny tiny. But yeah, I explained it to her like 3 times, and then I went, "No, they're supposed to be in this bin right here, and this bin is empty." Then I looked at the grade 5 and the grade 8, and they didn't have any. And she went back. She's like, "Well, what about this one?" I'm like, "That is a 3/4 inch bolt." Not
The
even
actual-
close.
The bolt is fucking huge.
Yeah. Are you sure this won't work? I'm pretty sure. So, some of the people in our Napa are pretty good. They've got a couple in there that
They're there for a paycheck.
they're there for a paycheck. Yeah.
It's just fine. It's just as long as you know what you're dealing with.
At least the Napa is open, and I can go in there and try to find what I need. So that's a plus.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah. Let's see. Still working on trying to get the big blocks in their engine cradles. Exhaust.
You got
bolts.
your engine cradles finally?
Yes.
Those
Yep.
came pretty fast, or no?
Yeah. Oh, not bad. Yeah. I think it took 4 or 5 days, which is pretty standard here, right?
Yeah.
A day or two to process the order, and then they sent them ground UPS or FedEx or whatever. It's for being out in the middle of nowhere. Honestly, shipping isn't that bad. There's no next day Amazon, but
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Like, in me, I will occasionally get next to Amazon. I know some of the bigger towns here in like San Antonio and I think Dallas, some of those areas get same day.
Oh,
It's
I believe
crazy. It's crazy.
I believe
But
it.
yeah, I'll occasionally get same day. Usually it's 2 day. But yeah, whatever. I honestly, like, my wife orders more shit online than I do. When I order something online, it's with the understanding that I don't need it right away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's just kind of a planning ahead kind of deal.
if I need it right away, yeah, I'm going to go pay the convenience fee in town because usually it's going to be that much or more to get it shipped that quickly.
Yeah, and sometimes you want a store there, either because A, you need it right now, or B, you want to go look at it before you deal with buying it. So there's some good things, and I don't mind paying 10 to 20% more for having the ability to walk into a brick and mortar store and pick up what I need.
Yeah. Plus you can go see it. I'm like, okay, I like that quality, blah, blah, blah. I like that. I'm old, I guess. I like my kid
Yeah.
was making me feel old earlier. But I like the fact that I'm like, okay, I can go see it. I can put my hands on it. I can tell if it's worth my time.
Yep. Sometimes you just have to try on the shoes.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense.
Instead of ordering it and sending it back and ordering it and sending it back. Then you forget to send it back and they won't fucking return it. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
whatever. Done. I'm done with y'all.
Well, and the other thing is this is a hobby, right? We're not in a shop. We don't have to get these cars out tomorrow.
Right.
Where it would be quite a bit different.
Right, exactly. So you're sitting here talking about engines, and you know what? Like, I have to say, I've been doing backyard stuff here, but I was on the great library today,
Okay.
doing my business on my phone, searching stuff up, right? Because that's what you do when you're on the toilet, right? I look up car parts. Uh, if you're Muddy or Lefty or probably Daniel Hill very shortly, you're going to be on Facebook looking up tool stuff because they're finding epic tool deals.
They are. Yeah.
But I'm looking up and I saw an old article that I had saved about building a budget small block, right?
Okay.
And it's from 2010.
Okay.
Like how to build a cheap small block for $650. I'm like, that's cool, but shit, this article's almost 10, 15, almost 15 years old now, right? 14, 15 years old now.
Yeah. The
like,
even from 2010, the world has changed dramatically.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, is it still possible to build a budget small block in that case? I mean, these guys basically start with a block, like you are. You're given a block. You're given your small block, right? Yep. So my question is, are you going to do anything to this block, or are you just going to stick it in the car?
I could probably stick it into the car as is. I need to put oil and coolant back in it, but
obviously that's a given with any engine.
Yeah, if you dump it on its head and create a big mess like that, then that's necessary, right?
But I mean, are you going to go through and freshen up? Are you going to put new gaskets and stuff in it, or are you going to really go through it, look at it, new cam, new crank, whatever? I mean, what is the thing? I was like, are you going to keep it a true budget build?
So I'm going to keep it a budget build. I'm going to do the easy stuff. So this engine is known to run.
I did hear from the horse's mouth that you'll probably have to pull the pan and put a new oil pump in it.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So this engine was actually the engine that made the B Squad run in Jim and Gail's rig.
Oh, okay. So you've actually seen it, heard it run.
Yep. Okay. So I could throw it right in there. While it's out of a vehicle, we're going to do the easy stuff. We're taking the oil pan off. We're going to change the oil pump. Now that there's no oil in it, we are going to look at the timing chain. I've bought the timing chain.
You have to take the timing chain cover off to get the oil pump.
Oh, it's a small block.
Oil pan off.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that. You don't have to do that on the FEs.
You don't have to do it. I don't
think. It's been a while since I took that one apart.
You might as well. Yeah, you're going to have to take the timing chain cover off. You might as well look at it while we're there.
Yep. So we're putting a new timing chain on it. Well,
it's not true. I said that backwards. You do not have to take the timing chain cover off to pull the oil pan off, because you have to have the timing chain cover on first to seal it. The other way around. Damn it! It's been a while since I put that engine together.
Yep. So we're
Someone's
doing
going
that.
to scream at me.
I bought a complete gasket kit for it, and I was thinking I can take it apart. I can, port the heads and do this and do that. And I'm like, it's a 305. The easiest way to upgrade this is to buy a 350, and probably the cheapest, right?
The number one way to upgrade it is.
But the thing I really like about this motor is I don't have to do anything with it. I can put it in the Thunderbird and call it good. And that's what I was looking for. So there's not a whole lot that has to be done, but we're going to do the easy things, right? I think there's a couple others that I don't remember what we're doing, but I basically got all the easy stuff, and I'm probably putting this motor in for maybe $100, maybe 150.
See, that ain't bad.
But and that's why I said I'm starting with a motor that probably could have been thrown in as it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't I had to build it out of a junkyard, right?
Most budget builds start that way. And yeah, I was fucking brain fart. You don't have to take the timing chain cover off to take the oil pan off. There is a seal that sits in that.
Oh yeah, the rear main seal. It was one of the other ones that was.
Front. Oh, you got to do the rear main.
But everybody said do that. And I said, I can do that.
If you have the engine out, do the rear main.
Yep. So and that's why I bought the entire.
2-piece or 1-piece?
I'm pretty sure it's a 2-piece.
How old is the block? You know what year?
It's a 70
It's a 2-piece.
mid 70s 305.
It's
So
a 2-piece.
yeah, and by the time I looked at the rear main seal and the oil pan gasket, and I needed an exhaust gaskets as well. Those were the ones I had to have. Paying for those, I could buy an entire seal kit and call it good. So I've got all the seals. I bought the whole kit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I'm going to take the heads off. I don't think there's any reason to. Probably going to clean up the intake and put that back on, just because I dumped oil and coolant all over it. It was very pretty when it was thrown on the engine, and they bungee corded it on top of the engine because it didn't have the bolts, right?
Uh-huh.
So for the ride home, they bungee corded on top of the engine and said that should work.
Okay.
Got home and famously flipped it on its head. And Gail, she sent me a message and said, "Hey, just out of curiosity, did the bungee cord survive the flipping? I'm curious on how good a job I did." I'm like, that, you know what? They did. They held it on. It wasn't tight, but it was it was on. And it only fell off as I was trying to right the engine back over. So yeah, A+ on the bungee cord action there.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that's at. While the engine's out, I'm going to replace all the replaceable suspension stuff in the front because it needs it, and probably put some metal where metal used to be and no longer exists due to gigantic rust holes. It being a unibody, it kind of needs some of that.
It happens.
So, and I'm not sure how the springs are going to be. They may be too stout now with that FE coming out of there. So the FE, I think the block alone weighed as much as the long block weighed as much as a fully dressed small block. So we may be several 100 pounds too light for the springs that are on it. But
yeah, you never know.
Well, I figure we'll throw everything back together, see how it runs, and then if we need to change it, we can change it later. It's, changing springs is not something is greatly increased or greatly decreased difficulty by the engine being out of it, right? You can do it with the engine in the car.
Oh yeah, easily.
So
very easily. That's kind of something I was looking at too. Like, if I was going to keep that old suspension, but you out of the old car, because I mean that old inline 6 was much heavier than a small block.
Yep.
But it's what it is. You'll figure it out. Honestly, you are probably at a greater difference between your two engines than mine, but it's worth considering. Yeah.
Well, and I think we're just gonna do the trial and error deal. We'll see how they go. And I bet they're the original springs in it too. So they're 65 years old now. So maybe they're not as springy as they used to be, and that may just play well into the hand that car's being dealt.
Probably.
So, and I think I may have to replace the shocks, which kind of hurts because I just replaced the shocks, and they were budget shocks, and that was probably some of the issues.
And you could have replaced the shocks already?
They were budget shocks. Remember, this was the bonsai run. So
I know. I
think I spent $60 on all 4 shocks.
Wow.
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 Yeah. But again, that's going to be, let's get it put back together and we can do that later. My big push is to get it back on the road. I am a firm subscriber to Lefty's theory on it needs to be running.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's got a ways to go. We got to do some welding and we got to do some suspension replacement and then fab a small block where an FE used to be and a new transmission. And I'll have to get a 99.5% chance I'll have to get a new driveline for it.
Probably.
should not be undoable.
That's good. My whole beginning of this is like, are you going to keep it budget? And if you do, I want to know. Like, I want you to kind of keep track. Not that it's hard, because I mean, what qualifies it as a budget build? You know, my engine rebuild, all said and done, after buying the cost of the block and doing the rebuild and the machine work and stuff, it was like $2,700. Right.
That was like everything. You were
everything,
short
though.
block, right?
That was that's including me buying the actual block.
Okay.
So by some people's standards, that could be considered a budget build.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's if you're buying everything, that's not horrible. So I don't know that I would have gone that direction with a budget build, because I bet you could find one running or almost running for like $1,000.
You could probably.
And I'm guessing because I'm not a small block guy, right? The only reason I have this small block is because it kind of fell into my lap, and so it's. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know the market on small block Chevy motors, other than they're way cheaper than FEs.
Oh yeah, they're definitely cheaper than FEs. What I guess I'm getting at is, what do you think a budget build would be for? I mean, a budget build for a big block is definitely going to be different than a budget build for a small block. But what do you think you would be getting? And where would you draw the line at a budget build nowadays? Because even reading that article, hell, $600 to freshen up a block would be great, in my opinion.
So I'm assuming by a budget build, you're meaning something that runs. Not,
I'm not talking like,
not 400 horsepower, nothing fancy.
That's not budget.
It's road legal to go down the interstate, right?
Yeah.
I'd $600 isn't that far off. Should be able to find a mostly dressed engine for that.
Mm-hmm.
Or probably a little bit less, $300-400.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be well used. This is not a brand new crate motor, right?
Right.
But a couple of $100 to change the doodads, seals if you need it, spark plugs, fluids, stuff like that, and you should be able to throw that motor in.
Exactly. Like, okay. And that's what this article was saying. Like, starting off with the block and, going through and checking all the good stuff. But that's essentially what they're doing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So and the thing about that is you can't be picky. You get what you get. And you're going to have to look for that deal for a while. It's probably not going to drop in your lap, but you could probably do it for well under $1,000, and $600 doesn't sound crazy.
Outrageous.
Yeah. Or crazy low,
Yeah.
If you're trying to impress somebody, you're going to have to add a zero to that. That's, if you're trying to make horsepower, if you're trying to make it pretty, if you want to start with a really good engine, you're, thousands of dollars is not crazy nowadays. And off the shelf 1,000 power horse,
right?
And an off the shelf 1,000 horsepower engine, that's $30,000. So there's a lot of room in between there. But yeah, I think a budget build, $600 to $1,000, depending on what kind of engine and what you need to put on it. That's not bad.
Okay. I mean, not outrageous, I don't think. So, okay. I mean, like I said, I was on the Great Think Pot when I was pondering these things.
Yep. So, and this is the reason why I'm not rebuilding the FE that was in that car to start with. It's that engine's not hurt. It can be put back together. It only takes money, and it's gonna be like $1,500 to get that engine running again.
Dang!
Just because it's a 352 FE. Nobody generally FEs are 360s, 390s, and They're that reason because those are better engines, much like the 305 to the 350, right?
Uh-huh.
Nearly the same thing. Nobody wants a 305 because you can get a 350 for just about the same, and it'll do much better in power.
Right.
So 352 parts they're not difficult to find, but they're more expensive because they don't sell a whole lot of them. And FEs are expensive anyway. So it's, for a rebuild kit, it's $800 without
Wow.
pistons.
Wow.
That's a basic rebuild kit. It's not a full rebuild kit with pistons and a cam and, all that stuff. And that engine it probably needs a cam. It does need lifters. It needs probably rods. It needs valve seals.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing catastrophic on it. It looks really good.
Right.
But it's, those parts are just freaking expensive for not only an FE, but an FE that nobody wants or has parts for.
Right.
So hence the reason why, let's just get a different engine and it's going to be half the price, and I can sell that engine at a premium because there are people who want to restore those Thunderbirds to factory, and 352s aren't that popular, so there's not that many of them.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I have a feeling that you're going to be sitting on this engine for a very long time.
We'll see. I'm not sure how fast I'm going to get it for sale, but I'm certainly not going to be, trying to get every dollar out of it. It's if I find somebody who wants it, then it'll probably go for a very reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really good engine. If somebody wants one, this would be one that they would want.
So, okay, so you're going to have this, what am I trying to say here? You have this engine now, and you live it, like you said, in the middle of nowhere. How easily do you think it's going to be to sell it?
I have no idea. And because it needs to go with a specific car, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's factory for a 58 to 60 Thunderbird.
Right.
I don't think those even came in the baby birds. And I think the next year when they changed the body style, they went to I think they went to the 390, either 360 or 390, back into the usual FE
right
engine size.
So you could be sitting on this thing for a very long time.
Very possibly. So we'll see how it goes. It's not causing a problem hanging around, right?
Well, that's true. It's not like you don't. It's not like you don't have the space.
Yep. And that being said, I have no particular attachment to it, so reasonable offers are probably going to own the engine. It's I'm not trying to get. I don't have a dollar amount where I have to get this out of it.
Right.
I'm trying to basically pay to or put some money towards fixing up this Thunderbird.
I don't know how much, but do you per se, like if you saw, I know nothing about how much a Ford engine would be, right? A Ford, that type of FE engine, but how much would one be?
So
if you saw one, like I'm trying to sell this in the marketplace, right? Well,
yeah,
if you saw one for $400, it would be a steal, or it would be
if it's running. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The used heads go for between $1,000 and $1,500 a piece.
A piece.
Yeah, not a pair, a piece. Just because they're not that common, right? And the people who have to have them for that factory restoration, there's not many of them out there that are in good working order.
Okay.
So
supposedly, like, okay, yeah, you've had this engine running, you blew oil out of it or something.
So what happened where the valve steels sat for 60 years, became hard as rocks, and then all the compression was just leaking right out of those.
Mm-hmm. So are those heads so good?
Or the valve stem seals is the rubber pieces that sit on top. It I don't think those heads are hurt at all. We looked at them. We have them off. We've looked at them. It does not look bad. The cylinders look nearly pristine. Again, the car only has 18,000 miles on it. It's the usage has been very little. The problem with the car is it sat for 60 years.
Right. Okay. So
much like the suspension, everything rubber on them went away.
Yeah, and that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could get, if you decide to part the engine out, you could get quite a bit of money for it.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to set a record on how much money to get for a used Thunderbird engine.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to pay what's a fair amount, that engine will disappear very quickly.
Okay.
But you are absolutely right. You have to find the right person. It's not like selling a small block, right?
No.
I'm restoring a car. You want a small block? Yes.
I think I got the small block, and then the 4-speed. Oh, I think I paid $200 for the small block, right?
Okay.
And then another $800. So I spent $1,000 for a block, a bell housing, and a 4-speed transmission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't bad. It was a bare block. It was a 4-bolt main bare block, bell housing, and a 4-speed transmission that had come out of a running vehicle. So, I mean, I thought pretty good deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and spent another, $900 in machine work on it. But the block had sat on a shelf for probably 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to say if you could actually qualify mine as a budget build, since, I'm starting from scratch on everything. But I'm just curious if you would be keeping yours as budget friendly as possible.
The 305, absolutely. Because like I said, the easiest and cheapest way to make more power out of that engine is replace it with a 350.
Mm-hmm.
Take the whole thing out and put in 350.
Because it's basically probably the same size block.
Yeah, same engine family, but to bore that out to 350 size and get all the parts would cost 5 to 10 times what you can just buy a 350 for. Right. So making upgrades to that engine does not make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's really the only way to go with that engine. And there's nothing wrong with Chevy 305s. Don't get me wrong. I'm not digging on them.
I will.
But they're not the high horsepower small block Chevys, right?
They're definitely not.
But they're still small block Chevys. They're good engines, and this one's working, and that's what I need. So it just doesn't make sense to dump performance parts into that, where the best performance part is a different engine.
Mm-hmm.
Because 350s are so cheap.
Yes.
You think about putting a turbo on this 305, you're $2,000 into it. You can get a really nice 350 for half that and make almost as much power.
I know. For me, dogged on 305s in general, there are some people out there who will put turbos and spin those things up to
oh yeah, and you
7,000 RPM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And make some halfway decent horsepower.
Yep.
Just because one, they're dirt cheap, you can get them anywhere, and two, that you could do that. But it's just like, hey, I know I get dogged on for not liking horsepower, but displacement is so much easier than trying to do those.
Yeah, and it is so cheap to go up in displacement from that engine that it's crazy. And it's the same thing with that 352, right?
Uh-huh.
Buying a used 360, specifically a used 360, because everybody wants the 390 instead of the 360 on the FE family, is way cheaper than rebuilding the 352.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
I still think you're a lunatic for putting a Chevy engine in a Ford car, but I also think that people are lunatics for putting Ford engines in Chevy cars and et cetera, ad nauseum. I generally will keep manufacturers, engines and vehicle manufacturers, and within the same genre, I should say. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's just my personal preference on it, though, because it's so much easier to find parts or things that will make it easier. Like, it was easier for me to find, very easy for me to find engine mounts for my coupe, since it's a Chevy, to put a Chevy engine in the car.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and you're not wrong, right? Once you start doing custom stuff like that,
Mhm.
you're stepping out of the I can just run down to the parts store arena, and you really have to know what you're doing.
Right.
So I would definitely agree with you there, but I don't have any problem doing that. A, kind of for the fun of it, and B, because it's what I've got on hand.
Mhm.
Just like that Corvette, I've got an engine and a transmission to go in that Corvette.
Mhm.
It's a Ford, but it's a big block, and it'll make that thing get up and jump.
Having seen big block engines fit in those Corvettes, there's a
Yeah.
lot of room.
You've owned both or I guess your dad has owned both one of those Corvettes and a truck with that big block in it. So
And having
you probably
seen
know better than I do.
Yeah, and having seen those Corvettes with big blocks in them, not that ours was a small block, but having personally seen big blocks in those, they fit. They're very tight, very tight.
Yes, yeah. You're definitely into the fabrication to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit on the Thunderbird is I'm going to a smaller style of engine, right? The
Sure.
FEs were there's debate about it, but they were considered big blocks for Ford. Ford had smaller V8s, smaller V8 families.
Right. The physical dimensions of the block itself qualified it as a big block.
Yep.
Chevy had the same thing. Chevy has a small block 400,
mm-hmm.
and they're also big block 400s. Okay,
Yep.
It's just the physical dimensions of the block and the size of the pistons, right?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to benefit from having that extra room in that under the hood, in the engine space thingy compartment.
Right. You could. It'd make it easier to put accessories in there, alternators and stuff.
Yep. And the battery's already going into the trunk. In fact, that's how it ran the Bonsai run.
Yeah, it's not unusual. Batteries can go anywhere.
Yep. So the problem with that was the original batteries were very skinny. So
yeah, I've noticed
stuffing
that.
a normal battery in there now.
You can go get an Optima battery and get one in there. Like those batteries are pretty skinny.
No, the original battery was probably 2/3 the size of an Optima.
Really, that small?
Yeah, I think they
Even
were
Group 1 batteries aren't that
inches. They're no, those old batteries, and I think they still make them, and I think you're going to pay a premium for them. But yeah, we just put the battery in the trunk.
The battery for the coupe was an old Group 1 battery, and then the 6-volt battery, obviously, but it's not bad at all. I mean, you can get options, so.
Yeah, no, and it's not like you can't find those. Let's see. Here it is. 29NF, I think is what it is. Looking for the dimensions. Yeah, width 5.5 inches. So it's just
really
an old style, from the 60s.
Crazy to me.
So yeah, it went in the trunk because, like most 60s cars, it's got room for days in the trunk. And not the biggest trunk I've seen, but you could definitely hide a body or two in it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the spare is kept in the trunk compartment. And you can still fit a body in there.
Right.
And it's a full-size spare.
It's a full-size spare.
It is. It's got a little cutout right in the trunk. It sits vertically, actually. It doesn't lay down like most cars now. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I don't know. I'm interested, with lack of a better, because I said that word a lot just now. I'm intrigued in you trying to get this in your car. You have lots of room, so it should be easy. But I want to see it happen.
Yep. Just needs fabbed in.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as a FE doesn't miraculously appear. So the buddy I've got helping me wire my shop, he is dead set on putting an FE back in that car.
Coach?
And another guy who hasn't been on the podcast.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention his name because I haven't asked him, but
that's fine.
Yeah, he's kind of dead set, and he's actually
is he out there looking for FEs for you?
Oh yes, he sent me people's names. I've gotten phone calls from people.
Wow.
So yeah, again with the I haven't found one that is cheap and running. Doesn't have to be great, just that's kind of the baseline, right? And it would help because it will bolt right in. But I don't know that I'm going to find one of those, so I'm moving forward with putting the small block in.
Interesting. Okay, fair enough.
So I again with the, you can find good deals, but you got to have time and be picky. And since I have the stuff to do it now, we're going to move forward. So I might see if I can not take out the other stuff, so I can maybe switch it in the future if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I would love to have a big Ford engine in it, but I think it's much more important to get it running than have it perfect.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So here's a question for you, Train.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of chrome on that car. And
on
I have
what car? On the
Thunderbird.
Okay.
None of it is in good well, actually the bumpers are in kind of good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but the bumpers are in good shape. Which actually kind of makes me think that they may not be the original bumpers.
Maybe.
Especially with the damage on that car, that may be true. Anyway, neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. Lots of chrome. None of it is in good shape.
Okay.
It costs an arm and a leg to chrome things.
I was thinking about that same thing because I got to re-chrome that. I got to do that grill for the car, for the coupe. The chrome is peeling off. You know how it rusts and the chrome peels off.
Yep. Again, all of it I have is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going, do I re-chrome it all? I mean, I'm sure if I take it all in, it's going to be a better deal than one at a time. But it is not flipping cheap. Holy cow. I did not realize that chroming was that expensive.
Chroming is expensive.
So I was thinking, do I paint it?
There is, I was about to say, they do have a chrome paint. And I saw it on a TV show. I think it was Counting Cars.
Okay.
Right. And it really does look like chrome.
Really?
Like, it's amazing. The only thing is just like chrome. You got to have it perfectly smooth or it's going to show every...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like painting black. So I've heard.
Yes.
I've painted with a paint gun exactly 0 times. So
yeah.
I'm going off what I heard from the interwebs.
I was looking at it, but I think it's a special... I think it's a special paint method. You'd have to double check it.
Okay. That would make sense. I've tried to paint things. I wasn't even necessarily looking for chrome, but making something look metallic that wasn't out of a spray can.
Mm-hmm.
And it was slightly shiny gray. Did not look like metal.
Yes. Don't.
And I tried a lot of different brands of spray out of rattle cans.
Yes.
And that's so I wasn't thinking painting was a way to get a chrome color on it, but
it is. It's been a while since I've looked at it, so I'll have to find it again. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yep.
But I just remembered in passing. I'm like, that's kind of cool, and I realized that wasn't chrome, actual chrome. It was paint.
Yep.
So I'll have to find. I will next time I have a chance. I'll look for it again.
Yep. And we're trying to get Kevin Tates, the paint education guy.
Mm-hmm.
He teaches painting for a living.
Mm-hmm.
awesome dude. We're trying to get him back on the show. We've had him on a few times. And
Good,
we may
'cause
have to ask
I'm
him.
starting to strip paint off this damn coupe, and I'm trying to figure out a better method. Right.
So, yep. But my direction with painting is: do I make it, like a black or a complementing color, or
I've seen lots of people do that with like the chrome, say the chrome bumper, and they don't want to go have it chromed. So
yeah,
they'll
they dent it and then pound it out themselves and then paint it black or something.
Yeah, or they'll paint it a complementary color to the car.
Yep.
And then there are some who like it's not uncommon for cars of my age group that to not even have the front bumper anymore. Like they just won't put it on, and it doesn't look bad. Now, your car might look a little funny without a bumper.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, I have all the pieces. They look like chrome that has gone through a sandblaster.
Yeah,
right.
I get you. And honest, like there's a chrome shop here in town, so I know they're backed up for months, right?
Yeah, and that's the other problem.
Or even like a year. They're just way backed up.
Yep. There's a lot of demand and not a lot of places that do chrome. And there are lots of reasons for that. We probably don't need to go into them, but and that's probably what's driving the prices too.
Oh, I don't doubt it. And I'm sure they deal with a lot of chemicals and stuff. So it's difficult for them. I'm sure some of those chemical prices are very expensive.
Yep.
And then it takes time. It just plain takes time, and it takes time to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
So because you got to go get it in there, put a thing in, get the next layer, buff it, get it ready for the next one, right?
Yes, absolutely. Chrome is much like paint, and you need there's a lot of time and effort, and then the payoff comes all at the end.
Right. So it will be interesting to see. Like I was going to stop by because we go in there occasionally for walkthroughs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to see what it would cost for my grill, how much they would do it for, and what how to say it, because I haven't had priced any chrome at all ever, so I don't know what a going rate for chrome would be, or what the idea of a decent value for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. And I know when I was kind of kicking around, do I get these things re-chromed? Do I not? I looked at a couple of shops' online charts, and the Chrome Shop. So this is the chromeshop.com automotive price list. Bumpers $350 to $1,500. Headlight bezels $70 to $350. Grills $350 to $2,500.
What? A grill? $350 to
$2,500.
$2,500.
Yep. Taillight housings $120 to $350. Rear view mirror $110 to $190.
And this is like you send them in and they'll pound the dents out and make them look, sexy, right? Or is this just we're gonna take whatever it is and chrome it, and you're gonna deal with it?
I don't know if this includes work or just the chrome at all. It looks like it includes minor work. So there's an asterisk at the bottom. It says, please note that major repair costs are extra and priced at $60 an hour.
$60 an hour. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cheap for major repairs. I know.
So if they have to unbend a bumper, I'm sure you're going to pay for that.
I'm sure. Okay. Interesting.
So it's just wiper assemblies, 80 to 150. So yeah, it is really not cheap when there's a 18-foot car that's got, I don't know, 50 pieces of chrome on it.
Oh no, I have quite a bit of chrome on mine, like both sides. The car is 130. The wheelbase is 113 inches. I think the overall car, bumper to bumper, is 187 inches.
Okay.
So whatever that is, it's
like
10, 13, 16 feet,
16,
which is not
14,
unreasonable,
16.
right? Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
Okay, bumpers front and back, and a chrome trim line runs down each side with chrome handles.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I'm planning on getting this re-chromed. Man, I'm thinking that's pretty expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it going, I've got Thunderbird script on both sides. I've got the bumpers, which are the front bumpers, 3 pieces, and then the grill.
Uh-huh.
The back bumper, which I think is also 3 pieces. On each side, they're little decorative, essentially rectangles. They're like 3/4 of an inch by like 3 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 groups of 3 on each side.
Oh, a lot. Yeah, I get you.
And then 4 or 5 actual birds. So Thunderbird, it's got the big bird
Mm-hmm.
on it. There's one on each side, one on the hood. The only piece of trim I'm missing is the one on the trunk. And then there are 2 pieces above the headlights. They're almost like hood ornaments, but there's one on each side and they're above the headlights.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you're looking at this bumpers. I mean, if you're going off these prices on the cheap side of all this, you're probably looking at a couple grand easy anyway. That's on the cheap end.
Yep. Yeah, and there's a few more odds and ends decorative pieces. And yeah, it's just there's a lot of flipping chrome on that car. Because that's the style in the 60s. It's the 50s and 60s. That's the way they were.
Right.
So I'm trying really hard not to make this a show car, right? My first thought is, yes, we're going all out to do it all.
Well, that's your first thought on everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's my default. We need to stay away from that on this one. I want to make it a really nice car, but it's not going to be a show car. So we'll have to think on that. Anyway, I've gabbed a lot about my project. How's yours going?
I'm at the point where I'm sitting around gathering some money to do the suspension, right?
Okay.
Because the way I want to do it's going to be a little more expensive than the cheap way of doing it, but I think I'll be happier in the overall run. Does that make sense?
Yep. You mentioned at the beginning there doing the Mustang 2, and I think that is a good way to go.
So in the meantime, I'm looking at, okay, the engine's in there. I have the new headers ordered, right? Once those come in, I'll fit those in and I'll put the engine, the inner fenders back up.
Mm-hmm.
So that if I need to make some adjustments, because I'll need to make some adjustments already to the inner fenders to fit over the new engine mounts.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Right. And at that point, I'll make that adjustment and I was going to strip and paint them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not going to be anything fancy. They can just be stripped, painted. I was going to probably paint them black, right? They're the inner fenders. They're not going to make any difference.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I have my new Contour Tour, which I've used a couple times. And you know what? It really does strip paint well. Even the Harbor Freight version. Well, I hear the Eastwood version is much better, but the Harbor Freight one, and it still does a pretty good job.
Okay.
The damn thing's heavy. Right? And it has its advantages. One, it doesn't like vibrate as much because of how heavy it is. So you don't get that fatigue. You holding an orbital sander or something like that, and you can use the weight to press in and grind down that paint and all that other stuff.
Okay,
but lots of that stuff is expensive. Like the drums are expensive, and it takes time and it patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, these are the inner fenders. Why don't I just try a chemical strip? So I've been thinking about buying a chemical strip, and I know they've changed the what's in chemical strippers lately.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get that
You're not going to get the good
efficiency.
stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That being said, those chemicals probably won't kill you as fast either. So there are trade-offs.
That is true. Like those old chemicals are very bad for you.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's something I try to impress upon people is the chemicals that work really well, whether we're talking like disinfectants or paint strippers or whatever, are very, very harsh. And that's why they work well, is because they're
Oh yeah.
they're so good at what they do that they are not good for whatever you're applying them to. In
Exactly.
a disinfectant, that's important to kill all the bugs and the germs and the nasties. Turns out that humans are also living things, and you maybe don't put bleach on yourself, right?
Right.
Don't breathe it in; it's not good for you.
Generally not
So
good for you, right?
It's that line you have to balance with, and people are really bad about balancing that line because they get lazy and then they don't do the safety stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. I get it. I'm sitting here going like, okay, and all the reviews and all the stuff that I've read, like it doesn't work. Like you know how the old guys work, and it's been like 3 years since they stopped using that other chemical.
Mm-hmm.
One, because idiots use them inside closed garages.
Yep.
Right. And two, just
getting lazy
like
and not doing the safety stuff.
The general safety stuff is just not used anymore, which I get. Cool. I work on both sides of that coin because I want those really cool chemicals because I know how well they work and I know them. But on the other side, I am the hazmat tech and I know those chemicals and I don't want them anywhere near my family. Right.
And I know how well they work when they're trying to kill me.
we were doing something at work and we have like, okay, we need to bring something in and we're going to unknown test, right? We're going to use our instruments and we're going to practice using them. And we're going to figure out what you bring in. Cool. Not a problem. So here I brought in a big, I brought in my MEK, methyl ethyl ketone.
Yes, methyl ethyl death.
Methyl ethyl death. And okay, methyl ethyl ketone it's basically acetone. Okay, methyl ethyl ketone itself is not bad, but everyone hears methyl ethyl, right? And they freak out because what worked so well in paint stripper was methyl ethyl chloride, right? And that shit will fuck you up, right?
Yep.
And it's just the way it goes. It's methyl ethyl ketone. You don't want to get it on your skin, and you generally want to have a good aerated environment to use it in, but it's not going to like hurt you like methyl ethyl chloride will just like completely ruin your day, life, everything, right?
Yep. Yeah, and lots of the chemicals are more than just kill you right there. Lots of them will just sneak up and cause all sorts of really nasty problems.
Exactly.
Cancers, neurological problems, things like that. So
yeah.
While I do bag on the new stuff that it does not work as well no matter what they say, the other side of that is if you're going to work with the good stuff, you need to know how to do it and you need to know how to do it safely.
Right. Yes. So there's a guy here in town who do sandblasting we talked about before. And it will be probably one of those things once I decide to do the whole car instead of just small pieces like I'm doing right now. I'll probably take it in and have it sandblasted. But I want to the spots like the couple of spots I need welded in first, and I want to get the suspension on the car first because I needed a roller before I take it anywhere, right? So, and I think it wasn't bad. I think it was like $700 or $1,000 to do the car, right? And if it's already stripped, it's easy. So, and if he charges me double to do inside and out, then I'd probably be a little like, come on, dude. But
if you were stripping it already, why are you sandblasting it on top of that?
That's what I'm saying. Depending on.
Oh, he won't have to do what's stripped.
Yes, or I'm stripping small pieces that are already off the car. The inner fenders are off the car. They're just piece of sheet metal right now.
Yep, and you're not sending those in with the car, is what you're saying. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I'm like, dude, don't strip the paint off and then send it off for sandblasting. Okay.
I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. All right.
That's fair. That's fair.
It just depends on what I want. And also I want to look at some of these areas, right? Sandblasting is rough on sheet metal. And if the sheet metal's a little thin in an area, it'll go punch right through, right? Where a chemical stripper will be a little easier on those spots, but it's a chemical. So I got to deal with the waste, and it has advantages and disadvantages, right? Just like anything else.
Yep.
So I do know that some of that aircraft grade stripper is a lot better than the shit you can buy at the store. So it might be that I go, hey, Lefty, you got licenses? There'd be some bad stuff, right?
That, just know what you're doing.
That, though, any chemical...
You're a hazmat tech. Yeah. You know how to find out how to know what you're doing.
Methyl chloride stuff is like they don't even make it anymore, so that's not even an option. So, I think it was banned from being made. But yeah, fun times, right? No, yes, maybe.
I may or may not be looking up methyl chloride.
Why are you looking it up?
To see if it's made anymore.
I remember it being made. Like methyl chloride, I think is still made. And I think is paint strippers are not made with it anymore. I think that's what made it illegal. Remember, makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just looking it up and seeing what it wasn't that I didn't believe you. I was just looking it up.
Bullshit. I was just gonna.
I never believe you. What are you talking about
anymore? But there you go. Whatever you want to do.
All right. I think we've gabbed on about what? Budgets, engines, and throwing engines in different makes than what they came out of. Probably enough for tonight. Sure? What do you think?
Probably did. It's fine.
All right. I guess with that, throw us your pictures of your Corvettes that have big block Fords in them and your Thunderbirds that have small block Chevys in them. Or any other mix and match engine combination.
So that I will send you hate mail.
So Train will send you hate mail from Train at bsquadhotrod.com. For B Squad, this is Woodchuck.
And this is Train, because A Squad doesn't give a damn about what engine's in what car.
Future Steve here again, along the information on YouTube. First thing is, don't worry, the podcast is not going anywhere. It will still be here. It will still be for free. It will still not have advertising in it. 2 reasons for the YouTube channel. One is to visually show some of the stuff that we cannot do through audio, so that's kind of fun that way. Also, interviews and kind of some of the fun stuff like that that lends itself more to a visual medium rather than podcasting. The second reason is to find some more people. I believe they're calling it discoverability now. We want to try to bring some more people into the B Squad fold and let them know about maybe not our awesomeness, but what we're doing here. And along those lines, the best thing you can do is tell somebody about us. Until next time, here's the exit.
If you want to help us out, subscribe and review us on your podcast app of choice.
Come find us on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter at B Squad Hot Rod. Also, emails go to hosts@bsquadhotrod.com.
Just look it up. It'll say it right on the thing.
Death.
No, it says it right. Non-methylene chloride. So it's methylene. Sorry, my bad. Not methylene chloride.
Methylene chloride.
I knew it was a chloride. Okay. That's the thing. They put it right on the front of the damn can. Non-methylene chloride paint stripper. Like it's a fucking amazing God's gift to everybody. No, I want the fucking shit that has the good stuff in it. Bite me.
At least 64 people have died from acute exposure to methylene chloride since 1980.
You could put that in the thing as a hey, I've screwed it up. It's methylene chloride, not methyl ethyl chloride.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going at the end of the episode. And that comes from toxicfreefuture.org. So I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that is the source we got it from.